Welcome to the Nitpicking Nerd's Guide on Spot Removal.
And no, we ain't talking about Tide pens.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. If you enjoy broad discussions about card types and how to play them and what you're looking at, or if you're a newer player looking for advice, this has got to be the best channel in the world. So I would hope that you just give us a little subscription. It's free.
Yeah, and besides, you want to be subscribed to this channel because our subscribers are 10% less likely to be put on the spot.
Disclaimer guy here. Being put on the spot is kind of just like how you feel or whatever. Nitpicking Nerds got no control.
Fun fact, I'm put on the spot every single episode because we never script the part that I say you have to subscribe, because that's why it always sounds terrible. Okay, what are we talking about?
We're talking about spot removal. We're talking about what's good spot removal. What are the standards? What are our priorities in Commander? And why are they good? And we're going to talk about which ones are good and why.
Yeah, but there's one thing we need to say right now, and then probably never again. This is not with budget in consideration at all.
Yes. Obviously, some things that we will say are not good would be good if you take budget into consideration. That being said, let's get into it. What's a spot removal spell? What's our definition?
All right. Get out your pens. Our definition is a card designed to remove one or more permanents, but not all of that permanent type from your opponent's battlefield.
Simple. We have a definition now. We can jump right into what is our standards? What makes a spot removal spell good? Like, there's probably thousands in Magic's history. What makes one better than another?
Well, Joe, I'll tell you. Spot removal needs to be efficient and or versatile. So we're looking for, if it does a thing, it needs to be the cheapest possible card for that thing, like destroy an artifact. Okay, well, it needs to be like 1 or 0 mana. Versatility. If it does 4 or 5 different things, it can cost more mana. But then there's some cards that do both, and they cost like 2 mana, and they do like 6 things. Like, those are the best ones.
Removes more than one type of thing, aka like an artifact or enchantment. Sometimes they can hit like creatures or planeswalkers. There's things like that. If you can hit more than one type, obviously the card gets a bump.
Right. Shatter says destroy target artifact, but Naturalize says destroy target artifact or enchantment. Now, I know they're different colors, but we're talking about Naturalize strictly better than Shatter.
In a very broad sense.
In every sense that matters, more or less. So generally, needs to be less than 4 mana. There's a couple reasons for this. Once you get to 4 mana, that's board wipe territory. So if it's a spot removal spell for a creature, why spending like 3 mana on it? In most cases, you can just go, all right, 1 more mana, kill everything.
Yes, exactly. Or even in the case of Toxic Deluge, same mana, pay a little life, kill everything.
It's not even everything. If you have the biggest thing, it still survives.
That's true.
That card's really good, but we're not talking about it.
Yes, very true. Instants take huge priority over sorceries in the spot removal category. That's just so true. And I'll just use the example right away. We're going to talk about both these cards later, but Anguish to Making over Vindicate is insane. I think Anguish to Making is extremely good and extremely playable and premium removal, where I think Vindicate is poop.
Let's say, just another reason instants are so much better. Let's say there's some big creature that can attack for a lot of damage in play. Like, this is really simple stuff, but still it's worth mentioning. So it's not, I don't control it. So, but if I go, I can't take a hit from that, I'll lose. Well, all right, I have to kill it with my sorcery speed spell on my turn. But let's say that we go to their turn, they have the big giant thing, I'm holding up my instant, and they attack somebody else. Well, I don't have to be involved in that at all. Either that person's going to take a hit and get owned, or they're going to use their removal spell to save themselves, and I'm just up a card.
Yes, exactly.
Huge.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. Your deck can't have too much 1-for removal, because if you're going 1-for-1 with players, then you're going to end up with no cards, and the players will have a ton of cards because you have 3 opponents. Think about it that way. So if you're going 1-for-1 when you have 3 opponents, it's not what you want to be.
Yeah, if I kill Joe's thing, well, there's 2 other players who just went up in exchange. They didn't spend a card, and they didn't have their card destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good for them. What else? Some decks want more spot removal than others. It depends on if your commander or your archetype or your color, if you're like mono blue, has enough actual card advantage to just make up for that fact.
Exactly. So now we're going to go over specific removal spells and what makes them the gold standard and how they fit into those like gold standards that we just set.
Exactly. The first one is Swords to Plotshares. You might know it. You might not. 1 white. Instant. Exile a creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power.
This is an extremely efficient card. It's simple. It's a 1 mana instant. To get rid of any creature, I'll take that.
Right. We don't have versatility. all you're doing is creatures. But in terms of efficiency, it's the cheapest mana it could be without being 0, and it can get around indestructible even just as a bonus.
Yep. The next one is Fiend Hunter, which is a creature, and when it enters the battlefield, you exile a creature, and when it leaves the battlefield, that creature returns. But it's just 2 separate lines of text, and therefore it makes it so if we sack the Fiend Hunter, because we want this in the Aristocrat sack, that's where Fiend Hunter fits, then you can make it so the triggers are wonky, and they will never get it back.
They won't. And then if you're flickering it, it just comes back, and then you get something else and hold it hostage. It's crazy. We have Winds of Abandon next. It's 1 and a white, exile a creature. It's a sorcery. Exile a creature. They search for a basic land, put it into play tapped, or it has Overload for 4 white, exile all creatures you don't control, and then they search for that many lands equal to the number of guys they lost.
This one comes up to versatility, because obviously a 1 white exile terror creature and they get a land is not a good card. We don't even have Path to Exile listed here. But versatility of being able to go, okay, Plague Wind you and you guys all get creatures, that's a lot different for 6 mana.
Yeah, so we will have to, I want to touch on why does this count as spot removal and not a board wipe, since the board wipe is the better option?
Because it has a mode on the spell that is specifically what we would call a spot removal spell and fits into our definition.
So if it's any spell that like can then also like just, hey, kill something or any spell, like that is a spot removal spell.
Exactly. Yeah. What are the next ones?
So we have Rapid Hybridization and Pongify. They're the exact same card, more or less. Blue, instant, destroy a creature, can't be regenerated for one of them, doesn't matter. Then the controller of the creature makes a 3/3. These are super efficient, but they are not versatile. They only destroy. And also, the fact that you're in blue means maybe you don't have better options anyway.
Yeah. The only other better option you have at all is actually Reality Shift, which is 1 in a blue to exile a creature and they manifest the top card of their library. So that's pretty simple. That one's also good. It also only gets creatures, but this one exiles, so you can get a couple threats you couldn't get before.
Don't forget the hilarious upside of them vamp tutoring or something, and then you just like negate it.
That's true.
By manifesting their stupid tutor card.
Ooh, what if they knew you had they knew you had the Reality Shift and they next level you by putting a creature on top that they're gonna flip over
With morph.
or with morph.
It's brutal. It's just totally brutal. Don't do it. Don't let it happen to you. Next, we have some black cards. Shriekmaw and Ravenous Chupacabra. So Shriekmaw is 4 and a black for a 3/2 fear. Has Evoke, so you sacrifice it when it enters and you pay 1 and a black. It's the same thing. When it enters, destroy a non-black artifact creature. And then Chupacabra is way simpler. It's 4 mana for a 2/2. ETB, destroy a creature you don't control.
If you wonder where you want these in creature decks where you care about the body, the creature you're getting, maybe the death of the creature from the Evoke. That's where you want these cards, because you're going to be able to get more value out of it. Like, say you have a creature dies, you can go Evoke Shriekmaw, kill that, and then maybe draw off it because you have a death trigger.
Or sack it to something else in response to the trigger. But the main thing about these and most like 1/8/7 creatures in general, they're way worse mana-wise than the spells that do the same thing. So you got to make sure you actually take advantage of Ravenous Chupacabra being a creature and not just go 4 mana sorcery, destroy a creature. That card's unplayable.
Yes. I mean, I would even say 2 mana sorcery, destroy a creature is unplayable.
Yeah, that's not good at all. I don't know if that card exists. I mean, it kind of does, more or less.
I mean,
like Dreadbore is basically that. And I think that card's awful. So we can move on to Curtain's Call. What's that do?
Curtain's Call is 5 and a black for an instant. It has Undaunted, which means for each opponent you have, it costs 1 less to cast, which means in a 4-player game, this will cost 3 mana to cast. And you destroy 2 target creatures. This fits more into mono black decks because you start getting more removal outside of it, but it is a 2-for-1. You are getting rid of 2 creatures.
Yeah, that doesn't feel nearly as bad as something like this fictitious card we keep talking about. Like, let's say Murder. Murder is awful in Commander. It's so bad. It doesn't do the efficiency or the versatility.
Yes. And Curtain's Call doesn't do versatility, but it does do efficiency.
Yes. We're really, I like the ones we picked here because we're getting the full spectrum. Fun fact, there's a whole giant list of removal spells that we like, and they're all going to be in the description. If you click the link, the TCG player link, it'll just take you to a deck list of all of the ones that we like are big fans of. So if you're curious, like, hey, what other removal spells you like? Well, you can see for yourself.
Yeah, there's more. Next is Chandra, Torch of Defiance, which is a 4 loyalty planeswalker for 4 mana. And when it enters, it can +1, which to make 2 red mana. Not 1. 2 red mana. or it can plus to exile the top card of your library, and you can choose to cast it. And if you don't cast it, then you deal 2 to each opponent. And the removal part, -3 to deal 4 damage to target creature. It has an ultimate, but I'm not going to read the ultimate because it's not really relevant.
It's really good.
I agree.
I think it's one of the best Planeswalker ultimates, but for the sense, the worst case is 4 mana sorcery, deal 4 to a creature, which is awful. But the fact that it's stapled onto this card advantage, mana ramp, potentially ultimate win the game card, hey, I'm definitely looking at it. This is one of our favorite ones in favorite Planeswalkers in Commander.
Yeah, this one's really good. It's really, really good at mono red, and it's good. It's one of the best Planeswalkers for Planeswalker decks because Planeswalker decks stink.
Yeah, they have trouble finding ones that actually win the game with the ult. I've never lost a game where I have this ult.
I think you have.
No. I just said that I didn't.
Well, that must make it true.
Yeah, buy your Chandras today. You'll never lose. Next is Inferno Titan. 6 mana, 6/6 with fire breathing. It enters the battlefield or attacks. You distribute 3 damage among any targets. This card is insane. This card is always better than it looks, and I keep looking at it, and I know it's good, and then it's always better than that.
I don't know if that's always true. What if somebody has that on a golden pedestal of being the best card?
No, I could just hold the card in front of me, right? And then I just blink. And every time I blink, it gets better.
It gets a new ability.
It just gets better. This comes down and it's going to destroy at least 1 or 2 creatures. You can wipe out 3 tokens. It's hard to block because if it has haste, you're distributing 6 damage right away. It's coming in. It hits even harder than 6 if you have extra mana left over. This is like the pinnacle of like creature ETBs for me.
Yeah. Inferno Titan's super awesome. I mean, to be fair, Sun Titan's really the pinnacle of that, but
I meant like removal.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think it's cooler than like Chupacabra or Shriekmaw because it just doubles as a way to just kill people.
Mm-hmm. It's a big beater. And the last one is Fire Covenant in this category, and it is 1 red, black for an instant. And as an additional cost to cast it, you can pay X life, and then you distribute X damage among creatures. So you can destroy pretty much everything. It's a Plague Wind. If you don't have a lot of synergies with your life total, like by gaining life at all, then I would be careful. I'd limit it to maybe 10.
Yeah, 10 feels pretty crazy. I would say no more than 10 if you don't have synergies. But if you have like Sangromancer out, do whatever you want. There's literally no rules. You should go crazy.
No, there's rules. You can't pay more than your life. And also, I wouldn't pay your whole life because you'll die.
Yeah, if this was this Little Caesars commercial, you'd be the guy's like, put your shirt back on. There's one rule. Next is bounce spells. Bounce does qualify as removal in our little definition. Counterspells do not, so there's no counterspell category because they don't remove anything from the battlefield.
Yes, all these cards remove things from the battlefield, but all of them are good because all these bounce spells. I would say bounce spells are usually very medium, not very good, but these all have versatility stapled onto them, and that's what makes them such good bounce spells. The first one, I'm not even going to read it. We're just going to mention it really quick because it's extremely good. You know why it's good. It's Cyclonic Rift.
Boogeyman of the format.
Card's insane.
I think the card is kind of in this weird bannable tier where like people have talked about it on and off for years. I would like to see it go, but I don't know if there's enough of a case against it.
I mean, but we're not here to discuss that. It's just a good spell.
Oh, we're not? Oh, we're talking removal spells. Okay, well, I'll talk about Mystic Confluence then. It's 3 blue for an instant. You choose 3 modes, but you can double up on any modes. It is draw a card, bounce a creature, or counter spell unless they pay 3. So you can, I was just going to list them, and it's like, no, I don't have that ton of time. So many options. More options than any other card we've mentioned.
9 options.
I don't even have time to list those. I mean, do you want me to sit here and list those?
I think it's 27 options. I don't know.
Whoa! That's one of those are so different. Crazy different numbers. Anyway, Mystic Confluence, none of the modes that you choose are going to amount to like this busted magic card. But the fact that it can do anything, it's in your hand, you just feel safe with this in your hand. You're like, nothing's going to get me down today. I got Mystic Confluence in my hand.
Woohoo!
I wasn't that cheerful.
I was.
Nothing's going to get me down. Woo! What's next?
Teferi Time Raveler. This is a 3 mana planeswalker. Comes in with 4 loyalty. As a stack ability that says your opponent can't cast spells except at sorcery speed.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, it's really mean. Plus, you can cast sorceries as though they were instants. And -3, you get to bounce a target artifact, enchantment, or creature back to its owner's hand and draw a card.
Man, it's a bounce spell that comes down, stays as an enchantment. That means your opponents can't play Magic. And it turns into Hearthstone, but only for them. And then he's like, no, I got you. Even some of your extra spells can just be played at instant speed.
This card is so versatile. It's removal, but also it can bounce one of your creatures to your hand to replay it. It can make you cast a board wipe at instant speed. It can do... this card is stupid.
You can bounce one of your own creatures and then flash in a board wipe later on, or just bounce one of your creatures, then play a board wipe. Good stuff. Next up is we have it under transformations. So these are removal spells that kind of have extra potency against commanders because they're going to come down, enchant it, and the creature's just stuck there doing nothing instead of removed. But as printed, it is removed from their battlefield since it's not the card. Yes. So this will count as removal.
Yeah, it becomes the card becomes something else, meaning it's not the same thing.
Yeah. So the first one, what is it?
It is Dark Steel Mutation, which is 1 in the white for an aura enchantment. You enchant a creature, and it becomes an 0/1 indestructible bug.
This is annoying because they won't be able to board wipes and stuff. Not going to get you out of it. Blocking, sure, you can chump, but you can't get your guy back. You're going to have to sacrifice it or bounce it or something. Song of the Dryads is next. It's kind of similar. It's 2 and a green. Turns any permanent into a forest land that taps for green mana, and it's colorless. You have to destroy the enchantment because that creature is unreachable. It is very difficult to remove that creature.
Yeah, unless you want to strip mine yourself.
You got to strip mine yourself, or you know what? That doesn't matter. Anything that destroys the land will do it, but there's not many of those.
Canons Transformation is 1 in the green. It enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and the enchanted creature is a 3/3 elk with no abilities, which actually goes straight into our next one, which is Oko, whose +1 is the same thing. It turns things into 3/3s with no abilities.
It hits artifacts too.
Yes, it does. If you randomly hit artifacts, you can also Oko can also +2 to make food, and he can exchange an artifact or creature you control with a creature with power or converted mana cost 3 or less.
Yeah, so Oko might just be the best Planeswalker and Commander. It is so good. We were kind of memeing around with it, and I had it in a deck, and I played it a couple times, and then you had the deck, and you played it a couple times. It's insane.
You just have to. If you have a board to protect Oko with, it is absolutely stupid. It turns every threat that gets thrown on the board into a 3/3 elk, which is not a threat.
And it's not a threat in any sense. Oh, your commander? Well, it's stuck there, and you're going to have to do some work to get rid of it. I don't have to worry about it. It never goes away. Oh, you're Thrain Dynamo. No, it's an elk. Did you want that? Because I bet you didn't.
I hate that card.
Yeah, Oko is very annoying. Very, very annoying. Speaking of annoying, gaining control is the next category. So first we have Gilded Drake, Agent of Treachery. They're both creatures with ETBs. Gilded Drake swaps itself with another creature. Agent of Treachery just says gain control of target permanent, thus removing the permanent from the battlefield of the opponent.
Yes, exactly. It removes it and brings it to us. These are both great if you can. Gilded Drake is great if you can flicker it back to your side to use it again. Agent of Treachery is great if you can flicker it, period.
How about just Teferi with both of those?
Ew.
Yay! Fun stuff, fun stuff. Gilded Drake is $200, so maybe stick with the agent.
Yeah.
It's the Mana Crypt of removal, we said in scripting this.
Yeah, it is a Mana Crypt removal. Next is Blatant Thievery, 4 blue for a sorcery. For each opponent, you gain control of a permanent they control. This is really good. It gets the best permanents on all over the board to your side, and you're removing 3 things. This card is all about efficiency, I guess. No, wait.
I think it's versatility because it's 7 mana, but it's a 9-for-1. They lose 3 threats. You gain 3 threats. You spent a card. I think that's 8-for-1 or 9-for-1 or some insane thing.
Yeah, it's very good.
The failsafe is just steal their lands. If you ramp this out on turn 4, okay, you'll just steal your lands. Now the game's over.
What about the next best Planeswalker in Commander?
Yeah, maybe this one's even better. I don't know. I'd rather activate this one once, but it's deck faded. 1 blue-red for a 3 loyalty deck. +1, target player draws 2, discards 2. -2, gain control of an artifact forever. And then -6, the worst emblem in Planeswalker history. I can't think of an excuse to even do anything other than the first 2 abilities, which are both amazing.
Yeah.
Draw 2, discard 2 is really good.
Yeah. Draw 2, discard 2 is really good. Let you loot, let you find the stuff you want. It fits in a lot of different decks. But his minus to steal stuff is where we're getting into his removal. You can just take any artifact. It's so good. 3 mana gain control of any artifact on the battlefield. That's really good.
Is that even a card? Is there even a comparison? Maybe that's why DAC is just so great. What does that?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing I could think of. Artifact removal is next, so I'm going to read the first one. It's Fiery Confluence, 2 red for a sorcery. Same thing as Mystic. You choose 3 modes, and you can mix and match or double up. Deal 1 damage to each creature, 2 damage to each opponent, or destroy an artifact.
These are only artifact removal. These don't hit enchantments. That's why they're in their own little category before we get to the next one.
Ah, I see. This is obviously way down on versatility and up on efficiency because I can blow up all tokens, deal, what is it? We said it was 18 damage to my opponents total. Any sort of combination of that, or just destroy 3 artifacts. Vandal Blast, classic, red, blow up an artifact. 4 and a red, blow up all artifacts you don't control.
Yep, this one is another one that doubles as a board wipe. There's a few of these here, like we went over Cyclonic Rift already, and we went over Winds of Abandon. They double as board wipes, and that's what makes them so good. You get a medium removal spell, and then stapled to that medium removal spell is a board wipe.
Yeah, you can use it for the tiny mode as in a pinch, and then mostly you're gonna just wrath all the stuff, and when you draw it in the mid to late game.
Yeah, exactly. Next, Ancient Grudge, 1 in the red to destroy an artifact, and then flashes back for green. Simple.
2 for 1. Speaking of 2 for 1, Skolagon's Command. 1 black red for an instant. Shock. Someone discards a card. Disentomb, whatever it is. Bring a creature back from your graveyard and destroy an artifact. So all bad abilities on 1 card, but the fact that you get 2 and you get to choose, insane versatility, and I think this card's really good.
I mean, it is really good.
Yeah, so moving on.
I mean, it's not. I don't think this card's very good. I know this card's very good. I've played it.
Okay, artifacts and enchantments now. Well, artifacts and or enchantments.
Crush Contraband, which is 4 mana to exile an artifact or enchantment. Wear and Tear, which can do just an artifact, just an enchantment, or an artifact and an enchantment. It can do all 3 of those.
And Force of Vigor, which is 2 green, double naturalize, and you can cast it for free if you pitch a green card, not during your turn.
Yes.
That card is really good.
Yeah, that card is good. It can get you a 2 for 2 when you need it, or it can just be a 2 for 1 when you want it to be that too. 4 creatures that have the ability to come down and destroy stuff, either when they ETB or when you activate their ability. So the first 2 will do the enter the battlefields. Rex Sage and Knight of Autumn both come down and they can ETB, destroy an artifact and enchantment. Knight of Autumn has the added bonus of having the ability to either gain 4 life or have 2+1/+1 counters. It almost always is just Rex Sage.
I do love the upside of if you can go infinite and you have a bad chain, just gaining infinite life. Like, that's so cool to me. I'll take it if I can get it. What?
I mean, yeah, you'll take it if you can get it.
Why are you making a stinky face at infinite life as a free roll? Like, we're just talking, like I have Karma Guide, Raveler, and the best thing I can get back is Rex Sage. If you switch it with Knight of Autumn, you just gain infinite life. Like, that's pretty good. That's pretty huge in terms of, like, that's what the versatility is. It's some janky ability that once in a while is just going to pay you off.
It can also infinitely come back as a 4/3.
And take that to the bank. I don't know.
Every time.
Watch out, opponents. Maybe that's good with, like, the Ozolith or something. Oh, wait. We don't care.
Yeah.
That one's useless. You know what? I'll just say, after just appealing to the other one, I'll just say that one's useless to spark anger in the comments.
Next, we have 2 creatures that sacrifice to destroy artifacts and enchantments. Caustic Caterpillar is a 1 mana 1/1. You pay 1 in the green, sacrifice to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Qasali Pride Mage is a 2 mana 2/2 with Exalted, and you can pay 1 to sacrifice it to do the same exact thing as Caustic Caterpillar.
The fact that you can hold these ones makes it, well, in some cases better, in some cases worse. But I can it's the same thing as Sorcery Speed, kill your guy, or Instant Speed, wait until it's a threat to me personally, and then I'll kill it without losing any value.
On the same note with these cards, they work really well with graveyard synergies because you sacrifice them so they'll trigger any death triggers you have. And also, when you're looking in the graveyard, you go, oh, hey, I can get back that, then use it again. Yeah.
Perfect. Or respond to a board wipe and just take out the best thing. Speaking of responses, Aura of Silence, 1 white for an enchantment. Opposing artifacts and enchantments cost 2 more to cast. Sack it, naturalize something. This is not efficient. 3 mana sorcery, blow up an artifact or enchantment. Sucks. But 3 mana, don't even have to have a target in mind. Just play this dumb thing out. Ruin everyone else's day. Take out, like, totally cripple artifact and enchantment decks as, like a bonus. And then as soon as someone tries to kill it, 2 for 1 them.
Yeah, I mean, Aura of Silence is a great and annoying card.
So good.
Yeah. Next, Dismantling Wave. 2 and a white for a sorcery to destroy a artifact that each opponent controls. Artifact or enchantment that each opponent controls. So you get to destroy 3 things as long as everyone has one, which this is EDH. They usually do. And for 8 mana, you can cycle it to destroy all artifacts and enchantments, and you draw a card because you cycle it.
Both of these don't put you down on cards. Like, if you Vandal Blast somebody's thing, that's the 1 for 1 we talked about that we don't want to happen. But this is a true 1 for 1 in a commander sense because everyone's down something.
Yep, every single player loses something, and then the board wipe is just like something you can do if you need it.
It's free. Like, you don't go down cards, and they do, so that's really good for you. But it's also 8 mana. Heliod's Intervention, X white, versatility. You can gain double X life, or you can destroy X artifacts or enchantments, and it's an instant.
So the important thing about this one also is This thing is so good. You get to destroy every single artifact and enchantment that is a threat to you as long as it's not indestructible.
And you have the mana. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that I can throw 6 mana into this. It's an instant.
Yeah, so you throw a ton of mana into it and you just destroy so many things, everything that's relevant. It's so good.
And the fail case is just blow up one thing that you need to kill right now just for 3 mana.
I think it's fail safe.
I think they're both things. But anyway, Nature's Claim is 1 green for an instant. Blow up an artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. The efficiency of that card is amazing, and the 4 life doesn't matter. We can just move on to land category.
Yeah, this one's just really simple. Things that destroy lands. We only listed lands because the only spot where you want to only be able to destroy lands is in your land slot. So Strip Mine destroys any land. Wasteland destroys non-basic lands. Ghost Quarter hits any land, but they search for a basic.
Ghost Quarter elks a land. It turns it into a land that doesn't do anything special. These cards are great. There's a couple that we don't want to play in the same category. These are the best ones that we always kind of look for. I definitely agree with what you said. That's a good point, that this is not versatile at all. So I want to relegate it to not a spell slot. I can change a mountain into a Strip Mine and feel really good about it.
Yeah, I would say it being in a land slot is efficient.
Acidic Slime, that card we hate. And I'm sure it's on this list later under traps, but just wanted to say that now.
Yep, and last little thing here before we get into traps is Catchalls. These are things that destroy either any permanent type or non-land permanents, depending on which one we're talking about. So the first one is Generous Gift, Beast Within, and Chaos Warp. These all hit any permanent. In the case of Beast Within and Generous Gift, they get a 3/3 green beast or elephant. Or in the case in the case of Chaos Warp, it's shuffled into their library, and then they reveal the top card. If it's a permanent, it goes in the battlefield. Otherwise, you stare at it awkwardly.
Yes, that is the actual Oracle text. Go look it up. Unexpectedly Absent is next. White X. Target permanent is put beneath the top X cards of its owner's library. Non-land permanent. So if they're going to shuffle their deck with a fetch land or a tutor, you just go, hey, your best thing's gone. And if you have a lot of mana, the best thing's kind of gone anyway. If you're in the late game and there's this big giant threat in play and everyone's kind of poised to take over, if you put something like 3 cards deep, it's not going to show up.
Nah, not anytime soon unless they have card draw. But that's a whole different story. If they're drawing 3 cards in the late game, they're probably getting a lot of advantage anyway.
Sure. Abrupt Decay can't be countered. Black green instant, destroy a non-land permanent, mana cost 3 or less.
This one's really good for CEDH because it's super efficient and it can't be countered, which is super relevant in CEDH.
Yeah, you're going to get priority on the stack, so it's going to kill the thing you want to kill.
Yep. Next, Assassin's Trophy, a black and a green to destroy any permanent, and and they get a basic land when you destroy the permanent.
I think that was the point where this video should have ended already, because you do that same tone when we do the shoutouts. So like in another universe, the video just ended now, and that's why you did that.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I was in sync with other Joe. Next, Anguish I'm making, which is a 3 mana instant. 1, a black and a white, to exile target non-land permanent, and you lose 3 life. This card is so good. I love this card.
Way better than some other things that compare to it. We talked about Vindicate being utter poop compared to this, and we'll talk about the other ones. I think they're on the traps list. So next is Windgrace's Judgment. 5 mana for each opponent. You blow up one of their non-land permanents. It's an instant in black-green. This card's just a solid. It's going to be a 1-for-1 because everyone loses something. The fact that it's an instant means you can hold it up. You don't have to worry about anything. Even if there's no creatures in play, you're still going to get value out of this. Great card.
Yes. Instant, getting one thing off of each opponent's field. That's really what makes this card so good. D-Spark. It's a black and a white for an instant. Exile. Target permanent with converter mana cost 4 or greater.
It can hit lands.
That is
if there's a land with mana cost 4 or greater. I don't know if that's the case. But this gives you, what are we talking about? Versatility. Creature, planeswalker, enchantment, anything but a land, basically, getting you down.
Yeah. Ugin the Virgin is a 6 mana planeswalker, comes in with 4 loyalty. He -3s to destroy a colored permanent. He +1s to essentially draw a card, and your colorless permanents cost 2 less. This is obviously very janky, but you'll know when you want it. When you have like 50 colorless spells in your deck, you'll want this card.
Absolutely. So last is traps. We're just going to basically rattle off some bad removal spells that we don't play, and we'll tell you why. Vindicate first. Sorcery. The only thing this has over Anguish Unmaking is that it can hit lands. That is a terrible card. Like 3 mana blow up a land. So I'll give up that for the 10 times better instant speed thing and at exile so I can hit indestructible stuff. Just not even close. Vindicate used to be way better, but then 10 years went by and now I don't think it sees play anywhere.
Nope. So mentioning 3 mana destroy land, Stone Rains are awful. Don't play Stone Rain effects.
No. And we'll throw Acidic Slime up here now because I don't think that's efficient enough to blow up a land. And like we said, the other things you can get for way cheaper, like Caustic Caterpillar.
Yeah, exactly. Oblivion Ring / Grasp of Fate, any effect like this, where you exile it under an enchantment, and when the enchantment leaves, they come back. Key here is it's not a creature, so you can't do any tricks with it. Plus, most of them are on one line. Now, especially nowadays, any newer one, like Grasp of Fate is a newer one, so it's all on one line, so you can't even do any of the cool tricks with it.
You don't get to sacrifice it or blow it up or clone it or anything. It just, and then, why would I want my opponent to just have their threat? It's still there. It can be accessed. There's plenty of ways to blow up a stupid enchantment. In Standard, no. There's not ways to blow up enchantments that are like mainboardable that you'll ever see. So there's got to be some special, actions taken to go blow it up. Not in Commander. Their threat's just going to come back. Now you got to answer it twice.
Next we have Mortify, Putrefy, Bedevil, Terminate. These are all instant speed spells that just don't quite hit enough things. Terminate only hits creatures and it only destroys them. Maybe if it exiled, it'd be better. Bedevil just is every form of this card has never really been too good. Every hero's downfall type card.
Yeah.
Putrefy, if you're in green black, you get Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay and Windgrace's Judgment. So think about that. Just turn your Mortify directly into Anguish Drumming.
It's just 1-for-1 substitution. Maybe with Putrefy, Mortify, like they are pretty versatile, but I think it comes down to like it just gets bumped out because how many spot removal spells are you playing? So these couple ones that are just better, and even D-Spark's better than Mortify, like they just push them out into unplayability.
Yeah, exactly. Unstable Obelisk. I'm not going to read what this card does. It's just, this card isn't good.
It's too pricey.
It's a Manalith that can, if you want in late game, can destroy one thing. Don't do it. This card is not good. This card is not playable anywhere.
Sacrifice your turn. Destroy target permanent. Croson Grip. I used to love me a Croson Grip. 2 and a green. Basically can't be countered or responded to. Destroy an artifact or enchantment. It's just a little like when I changed Croson Grips for Nature's Claims, that was like such a positive change for all my decks. It felt amazing.
Another thing about Croson Grip is this can get a bump if you're playing in a high counterspell meta. So if there's a ton of counterspells around, then that's when I'd play Croson Grip. Other than that, just avoid it. There's a lot better stuff that we already listed. Disenchant, Naturalize, just 2 mana to just destroy an artifact or enchantment. Not quite good enough. Just on the edge. Plus, if you're in a budget, just go straight for the new one. What is it?
What? Artifact or enchantment?
Artifact enchantment, but it can get a graveyard card.
Oh, Return to Nature? That's not even a new card. I think that's old. I think it's from like right around the time those were printed. But okay. I think more Naturalized Disenchant. It's more so that they've been improved upon too many times. And I do think, I will say, difference between Nature's Claim and Naturalize, 1 mana is a lot.
Huge. A huge difference in EDH. Argentum Armor. This is way too clunky, period.
We hate this card. I just put it on here because we hate it so much.
It's no good.
It's 12 mana to blow something up. It has to. It's 12 mana to 12 mana to put yourself in the position to where you can blow something up. It's a 1-for-1. Come on. Get out of here.
Yeah, I could see this card maybe being playable in like Gwyn, where it equips for 0.
Win. Who?
Gwyn?
Oh, Gwyn. I was like, what?
Yeah, Gwyn. Her name is Gwyn.
I thought you just said win, and I'm like, that's a good advice.
Win.
Utter End. We talked about it. It's so much worse than Anguish Unmaking, and it's right at that crux where we're saying 4 mana for spot removal spell. It's really pricey.
Yeah, exactly. Just costs a little bit too much. That's all it is. Decimate. You need to have 4 targets for this card, and that's the reason that you don't want to play this card. Because if there's not an enchantment on the field, suddenly this card does nothing.
Yeah. Once you get to hit everything, it feels pretty good, but I don't like that. And it's a sorcery. Like if it was an instant, maybe I'd take the risk more. Yeah. But it's sorcery. No thanks. And then we have Field of Ruin. The only reason people play this is because they don't read it. So just if you're ever gonna play Field of Ruin, just read it, and then you don't have to play it.
Yeah, it does it for each opponent.
So that don't ramp 2 people for 3 mana. No, not worth it. But that's the video.
Yep. Special shout outs to all of our patrons.
Assassin's Trophy.
And Assassin's Trophy. We will as much as we can without making you uncomfortable. You guys are awesome. You help make this channel possible. You guys are the poopy babies. If you would like to join them, you can go to the description below. In the description, we'll find a link to patreon.com. And there, take that link. Go look at all of our tiers. Join us. Get in our Discord and be cool.
And there's also 2 other links in the description. One of them is the TCG player link that I mentioned. Go there, navigate where you want from the list of awesome removal spells, buy whatever you want, then we get a kickback on the order, and you can go to twitch.tv/nitpickingnerds, watch Joe Cherries and sometimes never, mostly never, sometimes me, stream weekdays 10 to 4.
Yep, do a lot of limited on there. So, before we do the emoji thing, did you see, you're going to be really happy about this, what format is coming next week to Arena?
Isn't it Dominaria?
Huh?
Yes. Ben Stark was raving about it, so that's the only reason I know.
Yep, we're Dominaria Limited on Arena coming next week. I'll be doing a lot of that.
Oh, I did so good in Dominaria. Yeah, that was a good draft format for me, so I'm happy to go back. The final thing we have, instead of a tidbit, in lieu of a tidbit, we have an emoji challenge where we're going to throw some emojis on screen, and then, hey, first person who comments the right answer, we'll pin the comment.
Yep, so who is this? What commander is this?
What is that? 3 emojis, they just don't quite add up to me.
Peace out, Tribe Scout.